Hi guys, surprise. Welcome to the top floor of the Jasper Hotel in Fargo, North Dakota. Get a load of this. Dude, that is the view from the hotel room. You do love to see it. I just wanted to at least talk about the game, but I just found that I had a little bit more time. Back shit. Yeah, I just found I had a little bit more time this evening than I thought I was going to. So, no script, no editing. I'm gonna have the text form of this in the chat too, but just whichever way you like to hear about your fantasy football, you can choose the way you want to do it, or you can do both. I don't know. But I'll just give you my thoughts off the dome, and yeah, very minimal editing. So, game of the week was Cinderella Bowl 6 between Gavin and Elliot here. I'm just gonna look on my laptop, and this one, man, against how many other matchups? Wow, Gavin would not have won any other matchup with the point total that he put down. 126.28 was not top half of the league. Not good for a dude who wants to win the division, but he gets the win regardless over Elliot Newman and Legend of Kyler, 126.28 to 118.24. Big decision here early on that I noticed was Gavin starting Cam Newton over Matthew Stafford. Could partly be because the Rams were playing the Packers. Maybe Gavin was like, oh, I don't want him to play against a good defense, or I don't want to be rooting for the dude playing quarterback against the Packers. Either way, did not pan out because Cam Newton fell right back to earth after a nice homecoming the week prior. Only 6 points, only completed 5 passes. David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, the running backs. It's not really working right now. But Cordell Patterson and Darrell Henderson, of course, on the bench going crazy. So the depth is, I guess, kind of there. New guy Dontrell Hilliard, too, had 23.3. Nick Folk, 20 points as a kicker. Helps out. Did he score the most points? Oh, my God. Nick Folk was your top scorer this week, Gavin, with 20 points. Then on the other end, Elliott got kind of hosed because all of his Cardinals were on bye, and then Zach Moss got ruled out of the Thanksgiving game, but Elliott still had to start him as his running back 2, so no points there. That's a dud. And Budda Baker, he didn't even move Budda Baker out of his defensive back slot on a bye. So it's Elliott with 11 guys going against Gavin with 13, and Gavin only wins by 8. Top scorers, I'll just go through that. Nick Folk, Cooper Kupp, and Alex Singleton. So there's your top 3 for a winning team. A kicker, a wide receiver, and a linebacker. Not ideal. And then for Legend of Kyler, top performers, Carson Wentz, who has done really well in Kyler Murray's absence, Jonathan Taylor, and Dawson Knox. Gavin now moves to 9-3 and has clinched a playoff spot with the results. He could clinch with a win and actually clinched with a shoe loss. I didn't say that in the last one. And then Elliott is 5-7, now sitting at the 9 seed on the bottom end of the tiebreakers. To Metro, where my Millers played a fine Pilsner, and if you were in the house last night, you know that it was some stressful moments because I was down half a point to Ryan Beery in a very critical fight for playoff positioning. And all I needed was for DK Metcalf to catch one football, prove to future generations that he was at this football game against the football team on Monday night, and get into the box score somehow. One rush for 6 yards would do it. Any sort of catch, do it. Hell, a tackle on an interception, got it. You got it. And it took until 1 minute and 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter for DK Metcalf to prove that he was at this game, catching one ball for 13 yards for 2.3 points, and it is enough for the Marcy Holmes Millers to move to 7-5, defeating a fine Pilsner 143.72 to 142.1. Top scorers here, top performer in the matchup was Dak Prescott on Thanksgiving with 30.3. Then for Beery, Deebo Samuel, and Ezekiel Elliott. Beery is going to really be tested depth-wise because a lot of guys got hurt for him. DeAndre Swift on the 11:30 game on Thursday, Thanksgiving, gets injured, does not return after scoring 3.9 points. The next game, Raiders-Cowboys, you got 30 from Dak and 17 from Zeke, but Darren Waller leaves in the first half with an injury, does not return. Then on Sunday, Deebo Samuel against the Vikings, having a big game already up to 21, been one of Beery's most consistent players, leaves with a groin injury, does not return, everybody questionable, so it's going to be tough on Beery's end moving forward, and he needs at least one win. Probably one more win gets him into the playoffs with how his point score total is looking, but there's no guarantees until you're in. It ain't over till it's over. On the Miller side, I mean, it's not as bad, but kind of similar story. Christian McCaffrey out for the rest of the year, not with a hamstring deal he's been dealing with, but an ankle problem now. So does Austin Eckler and Antonio Gibson the rest of the way. Yeah, look at the stats here. I mean, I started Elijah Moore over Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick and Van Jefferson and Freiermuth and all that. I figured it was Elijah's time to shine, and it wasn't. Metcalf and Evans both bust, but the guy that saves me is Daniel Carlson, the kicker, with 21 points. He is a top scorer for me. My guys, led by the two Chargers, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and then the aforementioned Carlson. All three of those guys between 20 and 25 points. So with the win, I am 7-5 and have like a 99.99999% chance of getting in the playoffs. I can win at any point and actually seal it, but the point scored tiebreaker is going to help me out a lot. Same for Beery. The point scored tiebreaker will help, but he's at 6-6. All right, down the line. Congratulations to the Metro Division champion, Hermantown Hams. He wins his 10th game of the season, becomes the first to go to double digits, and defeats Isaac Schumacher and the Disciples, 169.2 to 130.18. Kevin will get a week off in week 15. He won't have to set his lineup music to Kevin's ears. Let's go take a look at the top scorers and see why we got what we got. Man. Kirk Cousins with 15.52. You want more if your shoe there. Did anyone else really go for a bust? Najee Harris, 7 points, not great. David Johnson called into action, 8.5. I mean, whatever. Emmanuel Sanders didn't do much. Dallas Goedert, 1 point. Yikes. I mean, yeah, nobody going over the top for shoe. And the people that carry the weight for Kevin are Josh Allen, T. Higgins, Darius Leonard with 25 points, another fucking linebacker for this guy, just putting up stupid numbers. And then, of course, former Miller, Hunter Renfrow on Thanksgiving, going crazy, 26.6 points. So the actual top scorers here, the top three are Mooney, Jordan Brooks, and Kirk Cousins for shoe, so a linebacker at second, never great. And then for the Hams, T. Higgins, Josh Allen, and Hunter Renfrow. So Kevin, 10-2, can win the number one overall seed with, I think, 2 more wins. He can lock it up next week with a win and a Muppets loss. And then the Disciples are 5-7 in the 8th seed, I believe 40 points behind Graham Sparks for that coveted top spot in the tiebreaker. Next up, the leading scorer for everyone in the MFL this week was the Washington football team, defeating Hot Chub Time Machine 210.14 to an even 147. I said he was going to have a down week with Tyreek Hill out. So much for that, because Leonard Fournette said, get on my back, I got you. 49.1 points. That leads all players this week, probably a top 10 performance in the league this year. Followed up by Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, the usual suspects on that wide receiver core for Andrew. Everyone did well for him. Joe Mixon does well for Robert, 37.3. Kendrick Bourne with 23. And Bobby Wagner doing his thing with 18.5. But it's just not enough when you get 210 scored against you. It's hard for anybody to win. So Andrew, like the Millers, are 7-5 and can clinch a playoff spot next week with a win. And the Time Machine, it's going to be tough, man. 4-8 probably need to win out and then get some help. Anyone that's 4-8 is going to be in that boat. Keeping it moving, the Schefters are hot. I believe it's 3 wins in a row for Graham Sparks. He takes down the Rochester Roadfuckers, 165.08 to 131.5. Top scorers here, this is what you do love to see if you're Graham. It's Aaron Rodgers, Rob Gronkowski is back, and Devontae Adams, 31.28, 24.3, 23.4. If that's the type of performance you can get from those guys, sitting pretty. Even at 5-7, 2 weeks left, he's got a shot. And then the Roadfuckers top scorers for 131 points. But hey, man, look at these totals. Jalen Waddle, 33.7. Mac Jones, 26.5. And Javante Williams, 20.1 points for the Roadfuckers. So these young guys, I mean, they continue to ball, but he's not trying to win. The Schefters are 5-7, the Roadfuckers 4-8, but the Schefters the 7, the Roadfuckers the 12, based off of tiebreakers. And I think there's one more. Yeah, there is one more, and it's Dylan Hilliker moving into that coveted number 6 slot, but it's not all sunshine and roses for the New Brunswick brain damage. You remember that two-headed running back monster we were talking about between Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry when he made that trade? Well, neither of them lasted very long. Dalvin Cook now hurt and out really indefinitely with a torn labrum and some shoulder problems. I think dislocated it too. So it's really mixed feelings, right? He's in that 6th spot, Dylan is, but who's going to carry the ball? And you have people that are one game behind him and are better in points scored, so Dylan's going to lose those tiebreakers. He needs to finish above the Schefters and the Disciples in record, most likely, in order to hold that 6th slot, but right now, that's where he is. And Hunter, the only team to not crack 100 points, finishes with 99.6. His top scorers, Joe Burrow, James Robinson, and Myles Garrett with 9.5 is his 3rd leading scorer. Only 2 guys in double figures, not great. So Dylan 6-6 in the 6th seed, Yahtzee, and Ricky Seals Holes 4-8 in the 10 seed. So right now is where I would tell you to go to the text piece. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not going to put any screenshots up. It's just going to be one regular video. But the playoff picture is here. And right now, Kevin's the 1, Gavin's the 2, I'm the 3, Andrew's the 4, Beery's the 5, Dylan's the 6. And then the 3 teams at 5 and 7 are Graham, Shu, and Elliot. The 3 teams at 4 and 8 are Hunter, Robert, and Lucas. So what can happen next week? A decent amount in the playoff standings, I guess. The Millers and the football team can officially clinch a playoff spot, although it is pretty set in stone at this point that those 2 teams will make it. With a loss, any 4 and 8 team that loses is eliminated. And I believe the 5 and 7 teams, all of them will be okay going into the final week, they will be, because Beery and Dylan both play each other, so at least one team will be 6 and 7. Take a look at the points scored tiebreakers right now, just to see. This will not be in the text document, so you got to come here for that fresh content. Let's see, the Schefters are at 1956, the Disciples are at 1905. So the Schefters have a 55-point advantage on the Disciples right now, and if either of those teams were to get to Dylan at 1855, so both of them would earn that tiebreaker. Dylan could make it back on Shu, hypothetically. He's only 55 back, but he's 100 down to Graham, so I think Graham can rest easy knowing he will own that tiebreaker with Dylan if it comes down to it. Then the Legend of Kyler, also at 5 and 7, but only 14 points above Dylan, so he would own that tiebreaker, but it is still very much up in the air who would control that if the tiebreaker came down to Elliot versus Dylan. And then the 3, 4, and 8 teams are the 3 worst teams in the league by points scored, so they're going to need to basically get in on record, and it's already looking pretty bad for them. I could be pretty confident in saying that Seals Holes, the Time Machine, and the Road Fuckers, sorry guys, but it's not going to happen this year. The playoff berth will have to wait until 2023, most likely. Okay, so now we're still going 13 minutes, no cuts. This is like the old basketball bubble report days, my God. So let's go into the week 13 schedule. 2 weeks left and a lot at stake in all of these. So we're going to start in Outstate and get those out of the way. I think the game of the week is in Outstate. Yes, it is. So we'll get rid of the other 2. It's the Muppets and the Time Machine. First up, 9 and 3 versus 4 and 8. The Muppets can clinch the Outstate division with a win and also get that first round bye. The Muppets can also be locked into the 2 seed very specifically if they lose and Andrew loses to Lucas, easier said than done, and the Hams beat the Millers this week. If those 3 things happen, Kevin would clinch that 1 seed, but Gavin would also clinch the division by way of Andrew losing, so he would be the 2 and set there. And of course, the Time Machine eliminated from playoff contention with a loss. And it's going to be tough for him to win because he's not going to have Nick Chubb. He's on a bye. So the line is Muppets by 24.5. I like the Muppets to win and cover. Muppets win and cover, eliminate Robert, and clinch the Outstate division. That's my call. Then next up, the Road Fuckers at 4 and 8 against the football team at 7 and 5. The football team can clinch a playoff spot with a win. The Muppets clinch the Outstate division with a Road Fuckers win. And if the Road Fuckers lose, football team wins. Lucas is eliminated from playoff contention at 4 and 8. Nobody on a bye. This is a full strength matchup. The line is football team by 17. And I mean, I feel like any game against the Road Fuckers is basically a lock at this point. Lucas is not trying to win football games. I'm going to take the football team to win and cover. Game of the week is the other game in the Outstate Division. We'll get to it, but we're going to go to Metro first, and we're going to start with the Spamtown Bowl. Ricky Seals Holes against St. Thomas Disciples, 4-8 versus 5-7. The only thing really at stake is the Seals Holes are eliminated from playoff contention with a loss again at 4-8. Obviously big for playoff positioning for a 5-7 team like Shoe. Buys in this one, it's all for Seals Holes. AJ Brown, who's in his flex spot, the wide receiver for the Titans. Myles Garrett, that defensive end for the Browns, who is really good and also loves to swing helmets at people. And D'Ernest Johnson. D'Ernest? It's like DeBrickashaw Ferguson or like D Ford. I don't know. D'Ernest Johnson, a bench running back at this point for Seals Holes. He did get some run midway through the season when Nick Chubb was out with an injury. And the line is Disciples by 11. And again, I like the favorite to win and cover here just because the Disciples, he's got to get it. Shoe's here now, and it's going to be, I feel like, brain damage versus Schefters versus Disciples for that 6th seed. And, he's at full strength. Hunter's not. Hunter's already, coming off a less than 100-point performance. I like Shoe to win by probably about 25 to 30 points at least. We're calling it the Keepsake Classic, January 14th at the Terminal. Be there. Keepsake Classic number 7 between myself and the Marcy Holmes Millers at 7-5 and the division champion Hermantown Hams led by Kevin Andrews at 10-2. So what's at stake here? A decent amount. The winner takes the overall Keepsake Classic lead. The series is tied 3-3. We've had some run-ins in the playoffs in basketball, and I beat his ass in hockey. The Hams do clinch a number 1 overall seed with the win and a Muppets loss, and the Millers can clinch that playoff spot with a win. So people on bye, Christian McCaffrey is, but basically the rest of the season is going to be a bye for him. He's not playing anymore. But also Shaq Thompson, who has been on the bench for me the past couple weeks, is a linebacker. Aaron Jones, Kevin's main running back for the Packers. And then Harold Landry, Kevin's starting defensive lineman. So the line is actually favoring me right now, Millers by 8. And this is going to be where the first time I go away from a favorite. I don't really like betting on my own teams because I just kind of see it fall flat on my face a lot. And, coming off this performance where you need 1 point from Metcalf and it takes 59 minutes to make it happen, I think my team is just kind of down on its luck right now. We're starting some new guys. Gibson hasn't seen the field in a while. Antonio Gibson, the figurative field, I guess. But he'll be starting for me, and hopefully DeAndre Hopkins can make his Millers debut this week as well. So the Millers are not as much of a foregone conclusion that we're going to score a lot. And even then, we go up and down by the weeks. So I like Kevin to be more consistent and cover 8 points, which really means I'm going to pick him to win outright, honestly. But we can hope. I would love to be 8-5. The first time all season right now that the Millers are 2 games above 500. And then a fine Pilsner against New Brunswick Brain Damage. Both teams 6-6. Crazy for playoff positioning right now. 5 versus 6 seed. There is nothing to clinch in this matchup, of course, but of major playoff positioning, especially if Dillon can win. That would just send shockwaves through the entire playoff bubble. And a ton of people on bye for this one. Oh my God. Mostly for the Brain Damage. DJ Moore, his second wide receiver. Anthony Walker, starting linebacker. Kevin Byard, starting defensive back. And Jarvis Landry, a wide receiver on the bench. All out for Dillon. On the Pilsner side, it's Jeremy Chin, his starting defensive back, and then Ryan Tannehill, the backup quarterback's not really doing much. Dak Prescott will still get the start week 13. Linus Pilsner by 24.5, and I am going to take Pilsner in this one just because who is going to carry the ball for Dillon? Who's going to do it? It's going to be Mike Davis, the Atlanta guy who's now backing up Cordell Patterson. Doesn't really do much. And then, again, who else? Michael Carter's on IR now. There's nobody there. There's nobody. So if you can get 3 points out of your RB2 slot, good luck, Dillon, but I don't see it. A lot of people questionable on Beery's side. I like Pilsner by a lot. And then the game of the week in Outstate. This one is not necessarily the 2 best teams in the league, but definitely the most intriguing matchup. The 7 seed versus the 9 seed, both at 5-7. The no source Schefters against the legend of Kyler. The winner would move into the number 6 seed with a Pilsner win over the Brain Damage. Actually, no, that's not true because if Shoe wins, he's in the 6. But if Graham wins, he's in the 6, and Elliott would be looking really good with a win either at the 6 or the 7. Ton of buys, though. It's the Packers bye week, so no Aaron Rodgers, no Devontae Adams, no Devondre Campbell for Graham as well, no Adrian Amos, although Adrian Amos doesn't really play for Graham, and no Chuba Hubbard. He's going to be the starter moving forward, but he's not going to play this week over in Carolina. And then for Kyler, Reggie Bullock, his starting kickers out, and then Brian Burns, his starting defensive lineman. The line is Schefter's by 4.5. I'm going to take Kyler to cover and win outright, because without Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I mean, it's Derek Carr's time to shine. Derek Carr's been on this team since day one, hasn't really started much since that Rodgers trade, but it's time, man. This is Graham's moment. If he wants it, go take it. And if he does win, then, I mean, good luck trying to stop him in the playoffs. But this is the test. I see Elliott doing it, especially with likely Kyler Murray coming back this week. His team's about to get a lot healthier and a lot better. I like Kyler here, but it is a toss-up. Could go either way. All right. I think that's about it. Go ahead and check the text document if you have any questions on what I've said. And maybe something similar like this for next week. Won't have Monday to really look at the records or anything. I will be on the road a day earlier. But yeah, thanks for sticking around for 21 minutes going retro style from downtown Fargo, North Dakota. Set your lineups.